What's up, YouTube? Welcome to more trades. Welcome to another stream. Sorry about that. We're gonna do a quick analysis on some of the coins. Try to be prepared for next week. And we're gonna take a look at the charts. Make it easy and simple. Now what we have in front of us over here is Solana. Solana on the 15-minute. Let's go to the hourly where we can see what's happening over here. On the hourly, we have Solana. It made a nice move down from the highs. Before we carry on, please be kind. Hit the likes. And let's go on. Okay, Solana is not showing it's not showing much strength, but we are essentially, in my opinion, gonna do something like this. We're gonna come down, possibly go lower, liquidate these people here who went long, and then only start shifting out and maybe recover this entire move. So that's my opinion about Solana. We came all the way. If we take a retracement from the lows over here, where's that? From the low to the peak over here where we had $27, 27. We came all the way down to the 0.786, very close to the 0.786. We are currently between the points. We are just above the 0.615 Fibonacci retracement. If we lose that, we're coming to $12. If we come to $12, then that's your last line of defense. If you lose that, then that will be trouble. Now, looking at this chart, do you think this chart looks bullish? I mean, can you see Solana just going up? I can't see that in the chart. I just look at the chart. I don't do anything more. I look at the chart and the news. We follow the news, but the news is just a catalyst. It usually just tells you what the chart is showing you, or just confirms it or follows through on what you're saying on the charts. So just looking at that, just give me a second, I'll get back to that. Solana. So yeah, looking at Solana, we are heading to that POC. Essentially, when you lose the value area high, you do head to the POC, which you did. Fair enough, you did. It's possible you come down, retest. You could retest and continue higher. It is also a possibility. On the smaller time frames, if we take our EMAs and we look at the 1 hour time frame, this is a move I talk about on and on. We have a quick move down, consolidate, and then we come up and recover it. You see it, always see it in the chart. It happens again and again on smaller scales and bigger scales. Look at that, recover it and continue lower sometimes. So in my opinion, Solana, last line of defense, if it loses this point or last week's low at around 12.6, we're coming down all the way to 11.9, or let's just say $12. If we come to the $12 zone, do we have any horizontal support at $12 down here? We have a wick over here. It can tell you that this level was resistance and support previously for Solana. You can see the price action around that $12 zone. Somewhere around here, this wick. You can see the price action over here. It tells you it's a point of support and resistance. And possibly if you go back in time in Solana, you'd find the same thing. $12 being a psychological number would be somewhere where Solana does some moves from. Let's go to Solana USD where we'll see a fuller chart. So I'm going to take a horizontal line, put it across $12 and see what happens there. Let's go 11.9 there. Okay, we can see we have a wick here. We have a wick here, support. Over here, you see price ranges around that $12 zone. Now, if you go back in time, can we see what Solana does at $12? Back in time. Okay. You could see almost a perfect retest once we broke out here in 2021. Came back, wicked, came up to 18. Bows. Final test, almost retested, and we shot up to the races. So it's telling me the $12 zone, this zone is going to be important. I know that we're going to bounce in it. And just for the sake of, what do I want to say? Let's pull a fixed range volume profile on this February 2021 range. And see. The problem with Sol USD, you can't pull a fixed range volume profile for some reason. But I can see over here is probably a point of control around the $14 zone, 14.2, 14.1. You can see how price really has a lot of candles there. Yeah, so that's my targets for Solana to the downside. However, if we continue higher, if Solana is able to hold, and if we want to measure the move, if say this was the low and Solana isn't going lower, we could say this. We can project our move higher from here. We could go to 32. As time goes by and as price moves, we can have clearer picture. This is one zone. It should be red because that would be a resistance, possibly a point where you pull back from, and the 1.618. And I would like to mark the 1.272. It is significant. If it's an ABC, I believe it will be significant. So these targets are for you to watch for the upside. This is long-term holders targets. Now for the short term, just looking at the chart, and if we pull a fixed range volume profile, let's see if it will work over here. For this entire range, nothing works. Let's go back to the other chart. Okay, we have our ranges pulled out here, fixed range volume profile. For our long term, we know the 18.343, and above it we have the 20.183 value area low and the POC. You see the POC, you see this was the value area low, but as price moves, the value area low will move, the POC will move, and all of that will move. Why do I have this is for February or May 2020, 2022 or 2021. It's this value area high, and the POC is 4. That's strange over here. My POC has moved significantly. I wonder if it's just for now. The value area high is lining up with the 0.786 retracement over here of this drop from here. .786 from down here, we came up here in April 23 and we hit the 0.786. Anyways, that's about Solana. So you need to see. If you follow me, you would see a few weeks ago I posted a video. Be ready. This is 1 month ago. Be ready for a possible dip. Then this video 8 days ago, I posted this. It says Bitcoin has one more leg. And this was posted on let's see 6th of June. So that's 9 days ago we posted this, and I was talking the possibility of Bitcoin having one more leg down and the risk of buying the dip. I said buy the dip with a question mark, so I hope you didn't take it literally as buy the dip. Now as for Litecoin, we go to Litecoin. Litecoin, as I said in my video today, Litecoin is doing something that other cryptocurrencies aren't doing. Unfortunately, Bitcoin, I would like to see it on Bitcoin. Is it Litecoin or is it ETH? I think ETH is doing it. Litecoin isn't. Let's go to Ethereum first, because Ethereum is doing something nice. Ethereum is below that target. Target is hit 16666. We went below it. That could be my next level of resistance. I'll be watching it. If we can't get above it, that can be a possible short to the POC because you lost the value area high. However, if you pump, then you could be coming into my value area low over here. 1785 and 1800 are your resistances to the upside if you can get above 16666. This range, we broke into this range, and this is why it's very risky. We broke into this range with a very big candle. I could say we might pump halfway through this candle because this was to the 1690. And if I take it more accurately, if I say this was a wave 3 down, the point wave 4 would come to the 1778 max. So you need to be careful of that. This is looking in the macro. This is on the daily. Obviously, when we go to the 4-hour chart or the 1-hour chart, we'll see waves inside waves. So I will tell you by looking at this chart, I could say we could retrace, have a bounce all the way to 1765. So you need to pull a fib from your third wave possibly and check 50% up, and that's where you could pull back to. Now, when you have a very volatile, strong move like this, look at this candle, you may not retrace all the way up. So if you take that, you might have a shallow retracement. That's what happens with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Look, you didn't get to the 0.5, just 0.382. Now, if we translate that into this move down here, 0.382 would just bring you to 1684. So just be aware of that. It is very possible you get a shallow retracement only to finish up that one more leg, because you could have a 1-2, and then this is the third wave. You had a 1-2. This is a third of a third, a fourth of a third, a fifth of a third. You complete this third, and then you have a 1, 2, 3, and then you're gonna have a retracement of this big third wave, and that could take you to 1770, only to continue lower after that. So I'm telling you again, as I said last week, we still have one more leg down. I believe we have one more leg down. My analysis may be wrong, but that's what I see. We will have a pump before that probably. But what I wanted to show you in Ethereum, Ethereum is doing this. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Solana are not doing this. Oh my days, what am I doing? 10th of March. Who is doing it? Is it Bitcoin? It's not Bitcoin. Is it Litecoin? One of them is doing, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure which coin is doing the hidden bullish divergence I was talking about today. I have to go back to that video that I posted today, but I can't see it anymore. 10th of March. That's Litecoin. Let's see, Bitcoin. Bitcoin hasn't done it, I'm very sure. I'm looking for hidden bullish divergence. That means price forms higher lows while RSI breaks the 10th of March low, comes below that. I looked at coins today and I had a coin that's doing that. Over here for Solana, I can say that Solana, going into the line chart, Solana's forming a lower low in price, and is this a higher low? Let's look. Again, it's a lower low. So I need to review what video was that. I posted a video earlier. What coin was that? How can I forget that? Let's look at this. Just give me a second. I posted a video saying Ethereum showing some potential. Ethereum over here looked like it was doing it. So I'm going to go back to the charts and look at Ethereum, because Ethereum was showing me that it could be doing, it could have hidden bullish divergence. Hidden bullish divergence when you have higher lows in price action while you have lower lows on RSI. So I was looking at the daily chart, and probably I wasn't on the 10th of March. I don't know, where was I looking? I was looking at this over here. There you go, 10th of March. You can see Ethereum putting higher lows on price, lower lows on RSI compared to this point. Now, if I go to the line chart, it might be clear. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is what you need to look for, even on smaller time frame. However, it carries more weight on bigger time frames. So that tells me that Ethereum is my next candidate for a possible bounce. Look at that. That is what I'm talking about. Now you have that. You can see clearly price higher lows, and this could give you a reversal. You could have Ethereum reversing to that target that I was talking about, reversing a bit strongly, and you see price come up, and then price even breaks the high probably over here, and the RSI also comes up, but RSI forms a lower high, and then price forms a higher high. Then you have hidden bearish div, and you come down, or price could come down up just as much. You have a lower high in price, and then you have a higher RSI because it was a very strong move, and you have higher highs, lower highs. That's bearish divergence, and you continue the trend. You go down. Now, DXY is showing us a lot of mixed signals. Look, no one is understanding DXY, but you need to look at DXY in the macro, because DXY is a big old asset. It's a grandpapa of assets. I mean, it's very old. You need to look at macro trend line. This is a trend line that goes back to 2016, 2017. This is on the monthly, and you can see how 1 wick, 2 wick, and then now we broke down. If DXY can't come above this month, 104.3, next month that target will be 104.37. I mean, it goes up. If we get above this, essentially, if DXY can get above this white trend line and starts moving higher, then we can move higher. We are even below this trend line. This is a trend line that DXY is still below. We aren't able to get above it. 103.209. This is a strong monthly bearish candle. On the 4-hourly, look at that. That's a nice shorting candle, and I bet you this is where we broke the 50 EMA. Let's look at it. There you go. We broke it somewhere here. This is a continuation candle. This tells me that there's a big possibility DXY flushes down today, maybe as we're streaming. Look at that, 101.9 already. I think you might be coming lower on the DXY. This is on the 4-hourly. On the hourly, look at that. You had a retest of the 50 EMA over here, and you're continuing lower. You have liquidity. Double top, you have a target. So now that DXY will push down, it might give chance for assets to rally. We all know, look, we came to the target. That's the target, 101.93. And we're now bouncing off up to 101.95. 0.95, yeah. So if DXY can bounce, I mean, if DXY starts dropping, possibly comes to this zone of support, then that will give the markets a chance to breathe and rally, because the markets need to get some oxygen, need to breathe. The markets have been tanking, so that was a strong move yesterday. We need to come down here. Once we get to this zone, we could do the same thing again for DXY. Once you come to this zone again, you will be ranging and maybe doing this, something like this, before you break up or break down. But this is a bearish pattern, even though I'm bullish on the DXY, but this looks bearish. I can't deny that. But this zone over here looks like it's a point of control, or a point where you have a lot of trading going on. So if I pull up a fixed range volume profile for this, you will notice something, I'm sure. POC is right over here, value area high. So you're stuck between the POC, almost drawn perfectly by me. POC value area low is where you are ranging. You're going back in, and if you broke back into the value area high, I'm aiming for the POC, simple, 101.53. The Nasdaq is just ripping up. This is crazy, and it's driven by tech stocks. Look at that. It is not slowing down. Look at that. And people are still trying to short this because no way we can make another high on the Nasdaq. We are attempting to break the highs that we made in 2022, 29th March 2022. We are visiting those levels. If we release from here, from 15,275 on the US 100, the Nasdaq, next zone of interest would be over here, 16,000. It's crazy that we're rallying despite the market. We broke out of this rising wedge, which essentially was a bearish pattern, but we've seen it so many times that pattern breaks, has a fake out to one side only to come back into the pattern and continue in the correct technical side. So now we're breaking out in the wrong side, but we could be coming back in. We could come to the Nasdaq all the way to 16.4 and then come back in and break correctly, and that will be somewhere here. Maybe we could come down. This is on the 4-hourly, and come back down to 11 again, and the markets will tank with. Let's see how far the Nasdaq can go. I'm just giving you the technical targets. It doesn't have to play out. Something interesting, if you've been watching me for a while, I've been talking about the S&P 500, and I had some targets for the S&P. This is the Dow Jones, the US 30. We are at a level of resistance. We're not able to break it. Several times we come here and we struggle. It's a value area high there, you see clearly. Bump our head at the value. Look at that, value area high, POC. Value area high, POC, breakdown, almost got to the value area low, came back up, POC, value area high, POC, value area high. Maybe we break up and we give this leg over here a partner leg to the upside. That would be huge. If you do this and all the way up here and back down here, if you say it's going to be equal, then you're coming to 37,795. That's going to be crazy if it happens right now. Like, I mean, with these market conditions. You have an inverse head and shoulders over here with a measured move of the inverse head and shoulders on the Dow Jones that could take you up to, again, 39,919. Now I want to look at one more thing, the VIX. When the VIX is high, that means things are bottomed out. When the VIX is low, that means things have topped out and potentially gonna start dumping. You can see in the VIX you're quite low. You broken June 21 lows. You're in the range of February 2020. At March 2020 you had that big dump, the COVID dump. Now you're somewhere around there. You're getting close to it. At March 2020, what happened? In March, first off, you had a gap up in the VIX, and it ripped up while the markets were dumping. Yeah. And then after that, the VIX was dumping and Bitcoin was pumping. So yeah, so you could expect if the VIX is able to bounce somewhere here, you're going to get a rip down in the market. S&P 500, I was telling you months back. Again, yeah, I know months back that we had a target, 4,300. I mentioned it. If you watch my videos, 4,300 was I would say the technical move breakout, technical target of the head and shoulders we had somewhere here. We had a small head and shoulders that I was taking the measured move from. You can go back to my videos and watch it. And I was saying we could get to 4,300. We got to 4,300. Clearly, it was a zone of somewhat resistance. You can see this is 4,303. Then the next candles just blasted off. And we're ripping. Look at that. That's such a strong candle on the day. Barely has a wick. Look at that. Let's look at the hourly. The hourly will be crazy. Look at that. Wow. Unemployment claims came out high today. I think that's why the markets are pumping. When unemployment claims come out high, that's telling you that the Fed will be happy and they might reduce interest rates or pause, or not be much aggressive, and that will tell you the markets are going to pump. This is bad for the dollar. Higher than forecasted would have been good for the dollar. Now, I want to analyze the macro on BTC. This is a Bitstamp chart. We've broken that Fibonacci channel. My next Fibonacci channel on this 4-hourly chart could bring us down to 20,000, recovering that CME gap. But the macro is what you should be worried about. You need to go to the MACD and look at the MACD and say, okay, I like to look at Binance futures. Let's go back to Binance. The MACD, okay, this big move down, we had a red bars increase. Now bearish momentum is curving up. We're losing bearish momentum. That's good on the daily. That may give you that bounce I'm talking about for Bitcoin as well, up to 25.9, 26,000. The VWAP is here. You can see the VWAP. Bearish momentum is losing, so we're gaining bullish momentum. Ethereum, yeah, we're losing momentum of bearishness. Solana, bullish momentum is getting lost. Look at that. We're losing bullish momentum. That means it still has a bit more downside to go. What I don't like is I didn't do what other coins did, that they came and liquidated these lows and then shifted out. I believe Solana can come down to 12. That is a good buy zone. Doesn't mean it's going to hold there. It could flush out there, but I would say it's a good buy. Quant, trying to pick up bullish momentum. You see, as despite the drop, we still had, despite the bullish momentum, we had a drop. So Solana is not looking the greatest as well. You're having, this is the first, this is a new 4-hourly candle. Oh, it's the same 4-hourly candle, but I saw the bar move up. Your momentum is getting lost. Now you're trying to pick up momentum, but momentum was losing. On the daily, you still have bearish momentum. This is not a nice candle, indecision candle. Could give you a continuation. You don't want to see that. You want to see big bullish candles. On Quant, on Litecoin on the daily, despite this move up, you're still kind of losing bearish momentum, but it's not strong enough. But this is a buy zone in Litecoin. I told you so many times. If you hold this, you could get a bounce. See, so you held this, you came up. That's a good trade. A buy zone. I'm not talking about a hodl position. I'm talking about a trade, a long trade. You could have a scalp long. You still have this candle. It's an insufficiency in the chart. You know that we like to recover insufficiencies. So if you're trading and you're in profit, take your money. You need to take it before you lose it all. Now, if you go to the, I'd like to look at the Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands on the daily, with this big move down followed by one candle out, open and close outside. This open and closed outside. This was yesterday's, this 4-hourly, sorry. Let's go back to the daily. One breakout, one open and close outside. This one opened and kind of closed outside. And then we had another breakout. This is not good. Why? Despite this big move, it's showing me that we do have potential. We haven't broken it and it hasn't curled. We do have potential to the downside. See, it's like vomiting to the downside. We do have. But usually after you break out, you would have a day or two. You had a day or two. Then you came back in. You broke out. Now I would assume you might have a day or two of bearishness or holding the range. Bitcoin is just continuing. Look at the Bollinger Band. Without looking at Bitcoin, just at the Bollinger Band. Look at that. You have no support in the Bollinger Band. Ethereum. Ethereum, same thing. Look at that. We just opened our first candle outside, and it seems we may close outside with your lower band being at 1661.09. That tells me you might have another day of redness. Tomorrow is the last day of the week. We might have a run up for profit. That means it might pump. Sol, we're trying to keep it. Sol is showing some hope, but we still have that wick. But if Solana pulls up, what this needs to do is price to push up, pump, to make this curve for the day. That's how it works. Quant, oh man, Quant has potential to break down. It's still holding. This is, see that, look at that. Bollinger Band is opening to the downside, and candles haven't yet broken down. There is potential to break down. This is on Quant. It's not looking good. Someone was asking me, are we going to bounce on Litecoin or no? I told him, well, no one knows what we're going to do, but just watch the levels that I give. And in fact, this was my last video yesterday or the day before. And we had this drop that went up to 69, 70.21, and we came back up to 73. So this 73, you need to know it's really something important for Litecoin. Now, after that big move yesterday that we had, how is the ATR looking? Is there volatility or we need to cool down? Well, this tells me we might need to cool down. We could have more volatility, but I like to see it down here. Yesterday, the ATR was low, was at 97. So there's no specific number that ATR will give you a big move, but once you see it going lower and lower and lower, you anticipate an explosion. And that's what happens. Just watch the ATR and you learn what it's saying. At the moment for Bitcoin, this looks like a move that's not finished, but you look at that drop. We came down, liquidated the longs, pumped, liquidated the gem, shifted out. Now we dropped, came up, we liquidated the longs. We might be shifting out, or maybe one more liquidation, shift out, only to continue lower. You would get, look at this, sometimes you get only 50% or 61.8. You can pull this 61.8 Fibonacci of this swing high to the swing low. You could see you could come to 25,600. That's a good trade. That's almost a $600, $700 trade. And it might continue higher. But you've been forming bear flag, breakdown, and now you possibly are forming another bear flag. So trading isn't hard. To get the right entry isn't hard. The exit is the hardest. When do you decide you're going to take profit? How much profit? Or are you going to be greedy and keep all your money in and not take any profit? And you're not going to start a stop loss because you want to, you don't want to get stopped out. You're sure your move is going to play out. But then what happens? You get liquidated freakily. Like now, someone can be sure that no way we're going to go lower. We're going to bounce from here, and they open a trade, very high leverage, and they can't put their stops very close by, and they can't put it very far away because the liquidation is very close by. So and then they get very cocky and confident, and eventually they do get liquidated. Liquidation levels. Why isn't it? I used to have it saved as my one of favorite indicators. Strange that it's not. Okay, this is on the 1 hourly. This is a different indicator. Essentially, this shows you liquidation levels. So this is not my indicator. This is not what I like to use. Let me look at my favorites. Liquidations. You could see how many 100x I forgot which one I used to use, but this will tell you by colors. The red, let's make it red so we can see it. That's the 100x traders. Yellow's 50x. Red is 100x, yellow is 50x. So on the hourly, not many 100x there. You can see some over here. Look at that, very close by. Look at that. At the wick of this candle at the bottom and the wick of it at the top. So very close by. That's how 100x traders trade. And then you have the 50x a bit closer, 25, because your liquidation is so close by. You have to have it very close by, your stops or your liquidation. Now if you go to the 4 hourly, daily, I don't like this indicator, to be honest. I had another indicator that was much better than this. But yeah, you have liquidation levels, you can see them, and people with 100x are always the closer ones. So you open a trade, you're 100x, and you don't set your stop because you don't want to get stopped out and you don't have enough margin. If you get stopped out, you will lose. Then you end up losing your money, you get liquidated. Now, if you want to keep it simple, apart from Fibonacci and all that, just draw a horizontal line. Look at this structure. This is on the hourly. This is going to be crazy support. 1728. If we get there, it will be crazy resistance. So you could attempt to short somewhere here between 1711 and 17, I would say 28, because that's where you have bounces from. Yeah, you have a trend line over here. If I get rid of everything, you have a nice trend line over here, this wick to that wick to this wick, or someone else will draw it this way from here. But if I take it from the beginning over here, you could see we kind of broke the trend, deviated, came back in. So we're basically in a channel. I could have just drawn it as a parallel channel, but this channel is kind of a wedge. So you can see this is what's happening here. So we had the first touch, the first bounce, touch over here, or we could say the touch was over here, the first here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're waiting for a fifth touch. We could have another touch. It depends how you draw it. But a falling wedge or falling channel is essentially a bullish indication. But when you look at this big macro, head and shoulders, even though it's not that pretty, I mean, you could look at it and say, hey, how is it a head and shoulders? Let's try and make it a head and shoulders and see what are the potential to the downside. And I draw a line here and say, this is my shoulder and this was my neckline. Left shoulder, big head, and a right shoulder. And I take a projected move from the head to the neckline over here. And the breakdown, we broken down here. We could say over here, but usually take the first breakdown. 1427, 1430, 1427, and you don't want to go lower than the 1530, I believe, because that's your 0.786. Yeah, 1536 is your 0.786. That 1437 will bring you below the 0.887, and that's not good. So yeah, I think the markets may bounce, have a small bounce. They need to recover, but nothing says they must recover, because once you get a waterfall and once you can't get above moving averages, and like Bitcoin broke the 200 moving average that bulls have been calling for, that we are above the 200 moving average on the daily or weekly. We have lost it. That's a 200 moving average on the daily. Let's see the weekly. We need Bitstamp to see that. See on the weekly, we lost it this week. 200-day moving average. Of course, on the Binance future chart is different. And if you go on the daily, it comes at 23,730. Last time, we did the same kind of movement. We went up, rounded up, came down, bounced off it. Are we doing that again? Came up, sort of rounded up, came up, and now we're going down to test it. Just be aware, it's over here, 23,370. You can get a bounce there. You don't test it much on the daily. On the weekly, you have lost it. Your resistance is 26,511. On the daily, if you want to look, when was the last time you tested? Probably be 50 something, 40K, 48K. You tested it here before you dropped. You barely touched it. But this would have been a nice signal on the daily. You see these candles with big wicks to the upside, small bodies, and then you have a double top, and then you go short. That's how you trade it. So over here, if you're not a person who's in a trade, you could wait for a pump or a dump. Now you got a dump, you're having a double bottom, but your second bottom came below. I would expect to get this. Now we had this, we come up, probably you get another low, a higher low. Then you shift out. You won't go up in a straight line. I think it may range, probably get to this range, 25.5 sideways. And if it wants to continue lower, it will go lower. And if you want to enter a short, then you wait for it to get up there, spike one time, and this is your 200 moving average on the hourly. You can see it's coming, and then you come another time, you spike again, don't make it, possibly a third retest that goes higher, and then you start coming down. So you have to have some tolerance. For your risk tolerance should allow for the price to move and put you in the red for a while. All right, that's my update on the market. I mean, if you're interested in seeing other coins or other assets, you could post it in the comments, and I'll post a video gladly about them. Markets have more downside. I think Bitcoin has more downside, and when Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down. Now that everything moved down, if I wanted to trade, and I believe markets still have more downside, I'll look at assets and say, where can I trade something? Oh, there we go. How did I find it? I looked at an asset that gained so much. I went to my list. I could go to my app, my trading app, trading platform, and look over here. I just scrolled down and I found Band. This is taught in my video on my playlist, Finding Tradable Assets, or the other video. I have 2 videos over there about trading for beginners. Look at that. This is on the hourly. First hit failed. Second hit, we spiked higher. Now we might have a continuation down. This might be it. Or we might be continuing higher. And if you pull a Fibonacci, if it's at a 0.5, then I'll be like, woohoo, yeah, 0.5 is a wave 4. We're possibly coming for wave 3. We went above the 0.5. Now we're again below it. So I could say, okay, we might have one more push down. Yeah. That's Band. So that's an asset you could essentially want to short. And if you look at EMAs, let's look at EMAs. Let's go to 15 minutes. It's a good time frame to enter a trade. Your EMAs have crossed bearishly. Look at that. You're getting that bearish cross, potentially a retest and continuation, or a breakdown. So that's when you make a decision on when to enter the trade. On the 15 minute, it would give you a nice, beautiful entry. You would see this. You were like, yeah, that's nice. I mean, you would see this, you would enter, but maybe you would get stopped out. London and New York highs. New York went all the way to London's high and then comes down. Beautiful. London's, New York went and hit the high of day, which was London's high. Now, I looked at Band. I'll find you another one you could look at if you're interested in shorting. You could do that for longing and look at which asset was the biggest loser today, and if you think the markets will go up. I mean, Nasdaq and S&P are just skyrocketing, so it tells me that markets might continue higher. Be careful if you're going to short something like this, because markets can continue higher. Now just going to my list and looking for big percentages over here of losses or gains. 5.5 H bar 5.5 loss. I want to see a gainer while Bitcoin hasn't gained. Then I'm looking at it as it's doing something opposite to the market, and maybe you could get a shorting opportunity. 1%, where is that? 6%. Yeah, we had a nice pump from this coin yesterday when everything was supposedly dumping, I guess. So you could have shorted it here. What coin is it? CTSI. Here, BLR Blur. Blur had a nice pump today, but with Blur we are above the 50 EMA on the hourly. So that's telling you might have some continuation to the upside. You have some sort of a triple bottom, inverse head and shoulders. Neckline is over here. You are testing the neckline at the moment, so you might have a move in Blur. Next target for Blur could take you all the way up to 0.3635, and that will bring you to the 200 EMA and the 200 MA on the hourly. That's for Blur. Any bigger gainers? I don't have much more on my list. Look at that. This coin I was trading, I got stopped out because I was looking at the value area high of the range, and it stopped me out silly, only to continue lower. So you have to have a tolerance. Now the value area high has moved, but earlier it was there. It was possibly somewhere here in April, March, April. I believe it was in April. And yeah, look at that. That would be an insane gain from up here. And I believe it could go to the POC at around 0.3707. Will it go directly? I don't know. On the daily or below the 50 EMA, retraced a few days ago, rejected. On the 4 hourly, again 50 EMA, you got that before yesterday, and you might be continuing lower. You might just spike lower, liquidate these lows. On the hourly, you're above it. You're trying to make it above it, the 50 EMA. But all in all, I'm seeing possible further move to the downside. 15-minute, clinging onto it. So yeah, that's how you find tradable assets, and you find zones where you would trade to and decide on where to come out. Once you get to the moving averages or Fibonacci retracement, or you have a percentage of gains in your head that you want to gain 100% of your margin or whatever you put in, or specific amount, $50, $100 for the day, and you're like, okay, I made $50 or $100 for the day. That's equivalent to my daily wage if I was working, or my overtime if I worked extra days. And you just close your trade and wait for the next one. There will always be a next one. Why? Because you see, when things are dumping, some are pumping. When some are pumping, some are dumping. You will always get a trade. You just have to be able to scan through and find them. That's it. I'm out. See you on the next one.